Okay, Little Anything's Book, Chapter 2, page 17. And then we're going to read a little bit, and we're going to discuss a little bit, and then we're going to be done. So,
fun. That was a cold wrap up.
So, Chapter 2 is entitled, Why Should Anyone Believe Anything at All? And the main idea is truth is absolute, exclusive, and knowable. To deny it, you must affirm its existence. So truth is absolute, meaning it's true for all people at all times and all places, right? It's exclusive, and otherwise anything that opposes it cannot be true. And then knowable is we can know something for true. That's true. There's people that would tell you nobody can know anything for sure. There's no facts. There's just opinions, especially in terms of religion, right? So.
Well, it is of my opinion that gravity does not exist.
Oh, no, Earth is
my bad. Forgot about that one.
But the reason they teach you the Roadrunner tactic first is to deny that there is absolute truth, is to affirm that it is absolute. There is absolute truth, right? There's no such thing as absolute truth. Is that an absolute? Exactly. By the way,
I like this.
I want to do a shout out to Kaylin. I think. I've been doing this a long time.
Best class?
That was the best reward I listened to and all y'all got out.
Like Ellie said, I've had a lot of experience of talking to people in circles.
It's like we all talk in circles, we just need someone
So in years forward, I need to say, okay, which one of you can talk to people? Find that person. So now we're going to go to, okay, I want to also say this though. So we've already talked about truth about reality is noble. That's where we begin our logical argument that is this book. And then the second point is the opposite of true is false. You're just like, duh. But it's not that duh to some people. So turn to page 51 in your big atheist book.
You want to say the fun? First time I've come out of Labor Day dust, no bruises on my arms.
Nice.
Normally, I'm going to be shotgun up there, and I miss the pocket, and I'll go and hit right there, and I got bruises all down my arm. But this year, I did so good at tracking, I shot so many birds, and I was in the pocket every time, and I never got bruised. I can hit volleyball.
Okay, so beginning at page 51. Why should anyone believe anything at all? This is a quote by Blaise Pascal. I almost named one of my kids Blaise because I love Blaise Pascal so much. He was a philosopher, but he was a believer. Okay? So people almost invariably arrive at their beliefs not on the basis of proof, but on the basis of what they find attractive. And he wrote that hundreds of years ago. Author and speaker James Sire conducts an eye-opening interactive seminar for students at colleges and universities across the country. The seminar is called Why Should Anyone Believe Anything at All? With such an intriguing title, the event usually attracts a large audience. Sire begins by asking those in attendance this question: why do you believe what you believe? Why do people believe what they believe? Despite the wide variety of answers, Sire shows that each answer fits into one of these four categories: sociological, psychological. What?
Each answer he gets fits.
Thank you. That helps. Religious and philosophical. So sociological reasons would be your parents, friends, society, culture. Psychological would be comfort, peace of mind, meaning, purpose, hope, identity. Religious, scripture, pastor, priest, rabbi, imam, or church. Philosophical would be consistency, coherence, completeness, best explanation of all the evidence. Beginning on the left, Sire goes through the reasons in each category by asking students, is that a good reason to believe something? If he gets a sharp students, like you would at Southern Evangelical Seminary, the dialogue might go something like this. So this is a fictitious dialogue based on true dialogue. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just going to say sire and students a couple of times, and then you're going to have to figure it out. I see that many of you cited sociological factors. For example, many people have beliefs because their parents have those same beliefs. Do you think that alone is a good enough reason to believe something? Students, no, parents can be wrong sometimes. Sire, okay, what about cultural influences? Do you think people ought to believe something just because it's accepted culturally? Students, no, not necessarily. The Nazis had a culture that accepted the murder of all Jews. That sure didn't make it right. Good. Now, some of you mentioned psychological factors such as comfort. Is that a good enough reason to believe something? No, we're not comfortable with that. Seriously, seriously, comfort is not a test for truth. We might be comforted by the belief that there's a God out there who really cares for us, but that doesn't necessarily mean he really exists. Likewise, a junkie might be temporarily comforted by a certain type of drug, but that drug might actually kill him. So you're saying that truth is important because there can be consequences when you're wrong. Yes, if someone is wrong about a drug, that they may take too much and die. Likewise, if someone is wrong about the thickness of the ice, they may fall in and freeze. So for pragmatic reasons, it makes sense that we should only believe things that are true. Of course, over the long run, truth protects and error harms. Okay, so sociological and psychological reasons alone are not adequate grounds to believe something. What about religious reasons? Some mentioned the Bible, others mentioned the Quran. Still others got their beliefs from priests or gurus. Should you believe something just because some religious source or holy book says so? No, because the question arises, whose scripture or whose source should we believe? After all, they teach contradictory things. Can you give me an example? Well, the Bible and the Quran, for example, can't both be true because they contradict one another. The Bible says that Jesus died on the cross and rose 3 days later. The Quran says he existed, but didn't die on the cross. It's if one's right, the other one is wrong. And again, if Jesus never existed, both of them are wrong. So how could we adjudicate, how can we judge between, say, the Bible and the Quran? We need some proofs outside those so-called scriptures to help us discover which, if either, is true. From which category could you just derive such proofs? All we have left is the philosophical category. But how can someone's philosophy be proved? Isn't that just someone's opinion? No. We don't mean philosophy in that sense of the word, but the classic sense of the word, where philosophy means finding truth through logic, evidence, and science. Excellent. So with that definition in mind, let's ask the same question of the philosophical category. Is something worth believing if it's rational, if it's supported by evidence, and if it best explains all the data? That certainly seems right to us. By exposing inadequate justifications for beliefs, the way is clear for the secret of truth to find adequate justification. This is what an apologist does. An apologist is someone who shows how good reason and evidence support or contradict a particular belief. That's what we're attempting to do in this book, and it's what Sire sets up in his seminar. Sire's Socratic, you know what Socratic approach means? Okay, so Socrates taught through questions. He asked questions. And so that's called the Socratic and that's what he did. He asked questions. Sire's Socratic approach helps students realize at least three things. First, any teaching, religious or otherwise, is worth trusting only if it points to the truth. Apathy about truth can be dangerous. In fact, believing error can have deadly consequences, both temporally in this life and if any one of a number of religious teachings is true, eternally as well. Second, many beliefs that people hold today are not supported by evidence, but only by the subjective preferences of those holding them. As Pascal said, people almost invariably arrive at their beliefs not on the basis of truth, but on the basis of what they find attractive. But truth is not a subjective matter of taste, it's an objective matter of fact. Finally, in order to find truth, one must be ready to give up those subjective preferences in favor of objective facts. And facts are best discovered through logic, evidence, and science. While using logic, evidence, and science seems the best way to get at truth, there are some who will have objection. The objection concerns logic, namely, whose logic should we use, Eastern or Western? So, we're going to stop there, and then if you would please turn in your little atheist book to quick questions. And
Whip
this
or
is,
Embolden?
oh, maybe I'll do yeah. So we'll start with discussing the question 1 of the Embolden. In fact, write down your answers, and then we'll talk about it when you're done.
What is it? Son of a Bendigo. Shatteract. I'm using the Bible.
Okay, Embolden, question 1. The first category is sociological. That includes parents, friends, society, culture. The second is psychological. That includes comfort, meaning, peace of mind. What were some other ones that I didn't have? Purpose, hope, identity. And then religious, scripture, spiritual leaders. And then what's the last one? Philosophical. And what is under that heading?
Consistency, coherence, neatness,
And evidence. And I think that's the most important one, right? So consistency, coherence, completeness, and evidence. Logic is part of that as well. And we'll get into all of that. So then you have just a tad bit of homework that you've got time to work on now. Please work together. This year is the most important year for you to work together and get a better answer. Don't just say, oh, it's this, and everybody writes it down. You need to discuss it. That'll help you a whole lot. So you're going to do the Embolden 2 through 5. So you're going to finish the Embolden, and then you're going to answer in one. So finish the Embolden, complete one. I'll write that on the board. It's due tomorrow.
You should have the other since the most part.